In September of 2004, I was just about to start my journey at Morningside University. You could say I was pretty darn excited. You see, saw it as a new opportunity, a new city to explore, a new place to go, new friends to make. I'm pretty outgoing. And so I was looking forward to just meeting new people and having a great time. In a couple short weeks, I had done just that. I had made some new friends. And in fact, one of them, Danielle, invited me to come up to Okoboji for her family reunion. She had heard that that's where I was from. So she said, Alex, you gotta go with. You gotta tell us about Okoboji. It would be so fun if you joined us. So I found a buddy that was willing to tag along, and we made the trip up to Okoboji. I decided that I would actually meet them up at the resort, and instead I would stop first at my parents' house to say hello, catch up a little bit with mom and dad, and make sure that everything was all right, tell them how college was going. I stopped at home and we actually had some company over. It was my parents, my little sister, my godmother, and even my godmother's daughter and her husband. Don't worry, there's not a quiz later of who was there. But the reason that it was important for who was there is my godmother's son-in-law actually used a wheelchair. He had a virus that attacked his spinal cord later in life. And I remember when we were getting ready to leave, they had to take off, and so we were getting ready to watch them leave and then help them out the door, and so I could get up to the resort as well. And I remember us going into the garage, and I was able to help Wayne down the ramp in our garage. I walked behind him to let him ease him down the ramp and able to get into his vehicle. As he drove away, my mom and I stood on the end of the driveway, and I looked at my mom, and I said, how much would that suck to be paralyzed? How much would that suck? I had no idea what the rest of the night had in store for me. After they took off, I hopped in my vehicle and went up to the resort to join my friends. Now, in very typical Okoboji family reunion fashion, you can just about close your eyes and imagine it, right? There was a bonfire, we were doing s'mores, we were singing campfire songs, there was like an uncle playing some musical instrument, I kid you not, and we were playing catch with a football, just having a good time. And we decided that we wanted to go swimming one last time before the season was too cold. So the girls went inside and changed. I was already in board shorts, so I went out with the little brother out onto the dock. We got about 150 feet out on this dock when a gust of wind blew my hat off into the water. I took off my shirt and dove in to retrieve it. I would find out later that where I dove in was 18 inches deep. 18 inches deep. And you can't tell now from this ride, but I'm about 6'2". And you see, I remember hearing my neck snap and having no idea what that was. Suddenly, my body was not reacting, it was broken and would not swim, and no matter how much I willed it to move, it would not. I said, you gotta start swimming. You have to start swimming. And I just laid there motionless. I remember getting really calm and telling myself, man, this has been a great life. It's been a great life. And I let go, and everything went black. Meanwhile, topside, Ethan was on the dock, and he thought I was joking, but then he sensed something was wrong. So he ran into the cabin to get the girls. He told the girls, and at first they didn't believe him either, but then they saw his face and just how scared he was. They ran down the dock and were able to jump in, flipped me over, and give me rescue breaths before the ambulance could be there. When the ambulance arrived, the first thing I remember is looking up at one of the paramedics. His name is Mike. And I looked up at Mike and I said, I really screwed up. I really screwed up. And he said, no, we're going to take care of you. And then I passed back out and went all the way down to the hospital. The next memory that I have is actually at the hospital. You see, Mike had called his wife, Deanne, in transit. Deanne actually taught me piano back in the day, so I knew her, and she was a paramedic as well. And he said, it's Alex, and it doesn't look good. I would get to the hospital. So she came to the hospital and met me just about as I'm about to board the Life Flight helicopter. And as I'm about to get on, she comes up to me crying and fairly hysterical, saying, "You're going to be okay, you're going to be okay," as tears are streaming down her face. Looking back at it now, I talked to Dan and I'm like, that was not very reassuring. We should have probably rethought that strategy. But she was just trying to tell me everything was going to be fine. I would end up going down to Sioux City, flighted down here to Mercy Medical Center, where I would have a life-altering surgery that would help me get back to where I am today. I remember the surgeon walking around my table, opening my eyes into the surgeon's table in this room, looking at these bright white lights as he walked around me, telling me what surgery he was going to perform. I remember my parents coming in and saying one last prayer with my pastor, and I was taken away. That was 18 years ago. 18 years ago, half of my lifetime. Since that time, I have gone on to do a number of different things. I went back to school. I went to school some more. Then I went out to Washington, D.C., came back, held a number of different positions, and now saw an opportunity to serve my community. I'd be lying if I told you that there aren't still hard days, some 18 years later. Days that I struggle. Days that I ask why. But I will tell you that since that accident, and perhaps because of it, I learned some incredibly valuable lessons. Things that were taught to me, and I'm not sure I would have learned these lessons, so I want to share them with all of you. Just the power of connectedness and how we are all a part of a community and we can impact one another in our day-to-day lives in sometimes the simplest of ways. You see, because after my accident, when I came home, I had found out that there were a number of people that were rallying behind my friends, my family, and myself, even when I didn't know it. They thought these were small gestures, small acts such as cards or visits in the hospital. Some of them even made the trek all the way out to Denver where I did my rehab. All of those things supported me in such profound ways, made me feel that I was not alone. I was part of a community. But it also taught me more larger, impacting type of lessons about how we're all connected. One of the first things that it taught me was the power of time and the time that we have. You see, my time was almost cut short, so after my accident, I learned that we need to make the most of the time that we have because it can be fleeting and it can be taken away from us at any moment. And so I thought about what I was going to do, what I wanted to go back and do, because when I was at Morningside, I had dreams of being a golf pro. I was on a golf scholarship. Well, I'm no longer swinging the sticks. I'm not going to be found on a golf course. So what direction am I going to take my life? And I thought back to the 6 months that I spent at Craig Hospital. I was so inspired by all of the people working at that hospital, the techs, the nurses, the doctors, the therapists. Each and every one of them played such a significant role in my life and teaching me what it meant to be in the selfless service of others. Now, the profound thing about all of this is they were simply showing up to work. They never set out to be making an impact or changing my life for the better, but yet with everything they did, they inspired me to think about the work that I could do day in, day out. Because, and honestly, really, where do you spend the majority of your time? If you're not in school currently, probably in a job. So I thought about what I wanted to do, and I've really been focused on finding careers since then that I feel are making a difference. Now, I'm not advocating for you to maybe reflect on this and change your career or anything like that, but understand the impact that you can make. The people that are watching you, the impact you can have on your colleagues, maybe your clients or your customers, the people you see. Because that's what I was observing. And you can find jobs or find the meaning in your job to make it such a meaningful career and impact those around you. Because the time we have is so limited, and maybe it's outside of your job. Maybe it's the time that you have after work to mentor others, to lend a helping hand, to go visit a neighbor. All of those things can be such useful parts of your time and parts of your day to impact the people and build that sense of community. The second thing I learned was truly the words that we use. The words that we use and the impact they can have. You see, I think that in today's day and age, we're becoming more and more divisive. We use our language to cut, our words to cut rather than bring together and build each other up. And that can be so unfortunate. Because one of the conversations that sticks with me and it impacted my life happened so long ago. It actually happened in 2012. I had just come back from Washington, D.C. I was applying for my first big-time job, and it was after internships, after college, all of those things. And I was applying to be a field organizer for a presidential campaign. Now, in Iowa, you might know what a field organizer does, but if you don't, their two main jobs are knocking on doors and making phone calls. And I remember being on the interview and saying to the person, his name was Zach Davis interviewing me, I said, I don't know why you want to hire me for this position, because the way I see it, I can only do about 50% of that job description. You know, knocking on doors sounds great until I get to each and every one of your doors and you have those things in front, you know, stairs. Yeah, those can be a little bit of a barrier. And Zach said something to me that stuck with me. He said, Alex, I'm not looking to hire someone that can knock the most doors. I'm looking for someone that can inspire a team to rally behind a movement and get people on that side to talk about issues so that they go out and knock on more doors than that one individual ever could. It was like a light bulb went off. He suddenly put down my mental barriers that I had put in front of myself, the ways that I had second-guessed myself and my abilities, and suddenly I was thinking what I was possible and capable to do and what I could go on to do and achieve. I took that job, and we knocked an incredible amount of doors as a team. I was proud of the work that we did, and it was all because of that conversation, the words that he chose to share with me that day. Now I think about all the conversations that we have every single day. Because words matter, and we use them so freely, we give them away. But I would ask each and every one of you to think about that. Think about the conversations that you have and how they might seem so simple to you, but the profound impact that they might have on the world around you or the person you're interacting with. Because the reality is it could be a small, just passing by, or maybe a brief conversation, someone you just met, and you don't know what they're going through or what they need to hear and how your words could have an impact. The last lesson that I learned since my accident that sticks with me is the overall impact that we can make on each and every one of us around us. The overall impact that we can make. You see, when I think about this, I was thinking that after my accident, I was much more worried about the fact that I couldn't really jump in a car with my friends, I couldn't be on a golf course, or I couldn't do the most simplest of things, right? I wasn't thinking about the legislation that was passed, the laws that were in place, how antiquated they were, what I was going to be up against. And the truth is that happens in so many different arenas, not just people with disabilities. You see, in the state of Iowa, I receive benefits that also come with stipulations as far as income and how much money you can make in order to receive those benefits. Or if you want to get married, suddenly your spouse's income now counts against that as well. Or I think of community-based services. What those are really just my ability to get up and out of bed in the morning and go to bed at night. And I started to think, if I am dealing with this workforce shortage and underpaid staff, how many other people are as well? If they're running into these barriers, I thought about the baby boomers that are going to be retiring and want to stay in their home because those community-based services are keeping me out of a nursing home, out of a hospital, and allowing me to live this life that I've built. And so I started working with legislators, working with the administration to try to affect change. Now, I'm not asking all of you to pick up the disability cause and help me fight these things. Although if you want to, that'd be pretty cool. But think about what injustices you witness. What things do you think need updating? What way could you impact future generations or the people around you? Maybe you're sitting here and you're a teacher, you're in education. Maybe you think of some of the things that are going into effect, the way our national conversation is going, and you want to be a part of that. You want to lend your experience. You want to offer a voice, an informed voice for change. Maybe you're in healthcare, and you understand some of the shortcomings and things that we're working through, the barriers that we're up against, and you want to try to inspire change. After my accident, I learned that we all have a voice. It's important that we use it. It's important that we try to impact future generations and make the world a better place. Because I don't know who else is going through this. No matter what you're going through, it's not in isolation. You're not alone. When I was 18, some 18 years ago, half of my life, everything changed in a moment. I thought I controlled my own destiny. I thought I knew how I was going to get somewhere. I thought I would be able to achieve whatever I wanted and set my mind to. And it took an accident that shifted my entire perspective to teach me about the power of community, about the power of the time that we're lucky to have, the power of conversations, and our ability to inspire one another, and our power to truly impact future generations. And I'm thankful for that. Thank you.